Why is the app still trash? Let's talk about it. 2 years now, the app's been dog water both times. And as someone who doesn't do app design, I am committing right now that I could make a better app than anybody. Well, not anybody, but a better app than it was or is currently. I could make a better one for you. Gravity, reach out to me. I will gladly learn how to web dev app design in 6 weeks and get you a prototype within the next 6 months to then push for you guys to start implementing and integrating with your APIs. But that doesn't mean there wasn't anything I couldn't complain about. So let's talk about the bad. The pricing structure of AFRO Tech had me really perplexed. It had me, I was flabbergasted at one point. Last year during AFRO Tech, they increased the price twice, I believe, of the ticket to the point where the corporate ticket I bought at the early bird sale ended up being the price of the executive ticket when it was all said and done on the day of. And that's inflation if I've ever seen it. This year they increased it one time. I think it was from 850. No, they probably increased it twice, from 750 all the way up to, at some point it got up to 950. So with that being said, I bought the corporate ticket. If I bought the corporate ticket but didn't have access to go see Rick Ross, what does that corporate ticket do for me? With that being said, is Afrotech doing a disservice by not getting the people who need to be in these conversations and in these halls the most? Students, general admission, well, maybe not general admission, but at least the students, up and coming people. Shouldn't they have a way to get into that? But moreover, if the only thing separating from me from a student or general admission is 10 halls, then I don't need a corporate ticket. And I think that makes sense for me moving forward. I think a bulk of what I'll be doing is staying in the general admissions and only buying that ticket, because both years I made money and made connections on the expo floor. There is no Q&A, there is no meet and greet, there is no in-person social event or private event for corporate users to benefit from getting more of a one-on-one approach with speakers and designated talkers of that community. There was none of that. So then it begs the question, what's the difference with having this session recorded and just put on a YouTube channel for later? The fact that these things weren't recorded or distributed to the people who paid for them was maddening to me. Pure maddening. It says something when the person who performed at your concert put nothing on their social media. Literally no mention of Afrotech on Sweetie's page, and it probably has something to do with the fact that she was performing to 200 people when she's definitely not that caliber of artist. Afrotech kind of did a disservice to Sweetie and the other performing artists by adding an extra tax basically to already expensive venture. Like I said, to me this was no qualm or query. I was able to get into the concert, but because of the lethargic pricing, I was not in a rush to get there, and I got there in the middle of Rick Ross's session. So when you look at Sweetie's venue for this and you see major gaps in the crowd, you can't really blame her for not being too pleased and not posting about it on her social media. This might be something that I thoroughly enjoyed, but a lot of people seem to be perplexed by it, and I'll talk about it in the truth. But for me, I know a major complaint was there was too much to do with too little time. If you think about the way Austin is set up and how they have their venue set up, they made it almost impossible for you to move from one place to another unless you were willing to leave something early or arrive to something late. With that being said, what is more important to you and what is more value? I don't think you should have to choose between seeing Issa Rae and seeing Healthcare Summit. I think those two things need to be put on different planes, or there needs to be, once again, a sort of online feature where people can sort of stream this. I can't really talk about that, but when Issa Rae is coming to give a speech and you only get a 100 capacity room, You know, everyone at Afrotech wants to see that. It behooves me that last year they gave Mark Cuban a whole entire venue to seat all of Afrotech, and they gave Issa Rae 1/10 of that. Granted, she only spoke for 10 minutes, but huge misfire on this by not having this major event, not have the crowd, having people sitting in the back. Some people came just to see this woman. To not have the ability to see her and knowing that that's one of the reasons we came, kind of sus to me. You definitely need to make sure the crowd and the arena fit the venue situation. I think for sure there needs to be some type of dress code, but also I don't know how do you implement that, but I think Afrotech would benefit from giving people sort of a guidance, sort of guideline. So for example, I noticed a lot of people popped out their best outfit for day one, but as a person who came last year, I understood that day one was just for collecting your badge. So for me, I took advantage of day one and I wore my merch. Once again, you can buy a free shirt. You can buy a shirt and it'll be matched 100%. Help a kid get there next year. But I also used that as a day to get my IDs and all my stuff sorted out, but also used it as a way of interviewing people. So when I interviewed people, I had my merch on. It was perfect. I could do two things at one time, right? Day two was the first day of the expo. So I wore a 3-piece suit. My goal was to meet with all the heavy hitters that I wanted to interview with and try and lock down interviews, which I was successful in doing. So the suit paid off. Day 3 would have been the day I wore the black Akbada. And I think because it's called Afrotech, there should be some form of traditional garbs. If you have it, wear it. And the amount of people that told me, wow, I wish I did it. And I had to say it. If not now, when? When would be the appropriate time to wear this? We need to normalize our culture in the tech industry. So like I was really happy that if I can motivate people to do it next year I'll come with an even better outfit. So I hope to continue to encourage. And day 4 once again was Saturday, where I dressed down and I planned on interviewing companies. So I once again wore my merch to kind of boost and bolster sales in that. But Afrotech should have some type of standards, and the amount of people I saw wearing sweatpants or women wearing leggings was just a little bit off. You're standing next to a future employer, maybe, and you're wearing, in this situation, you either, die young and you never grow up, or you grow up and you eventually become the guy that's standing on the lawn yelling at clouds. And I think maybe this is me yelling at the clouds right now, but there was something about, all the after party mixers, things that were supposed to be social hours or mixers. Every mixer and social hour did not need a DJ. Didn't need a DJ with a full sound system in a 400 by 400 room. There were too many times where I was literally pressed up against people trying to talk to them and we couldn't hear each other because the DJ is playing Make Me Sweat, Make Me Hot, like that was the theme song of Afrotech. Like, it was just too much. It was too loud. These mixers should be unwinding situations where you get to actually have conversations above table without all the glitz and glams of Afrotech. It's too much. And once again, in the events where I got privately invited, I felt that much more easygoing presence, and it was a lot easier to communicate people. So it leads me to believe that those mixers were probably designed for people who wanted to kick back a little bit more. But I would have been in 2 of the events where I expected there to be conversations, and this happened to me last year, and I went back to these events this year. Last year, I went to the spades tournament to learn how to play spades. I got there, it was a full party, and 3 people were playing spades in the middle of the party. And I couldn't learn anything. It was not conclusive to me learning. Nothing happened. Went to the same one this year. They had the early tournament, but halfway through it turned into a party again. So once again, it's one of those things where it's like it's a constantly evolving thing. And another thing, RSV be damned, but because of the RSVPing of all of these events, some of these events got oversold and underperformed. there has to be a better way of doing this. There has to be a better way of tracking the logistics of this. Furthermore, I will say, like, good on them because they didn't use that as an opportunity to once again tax us. I think that was a huge complaint last year, that events that were planned or events that were RSVP and didn't have a price tag attached to it, having a price tag once you arrived was a major turnoff, and people definitely felt some type of way about that. So I'm happy to see that was regressed, but maybe need to be a little bit more free with that. But definitely, like, if it's a social mixer, it just needs to be quieter. Damn you, clouds. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old. Why is the app still trash? Let's talk about it. 2 years now, app's been dog water both times. And as someone who doesn't do app design, I am committing right now that I could make a better app than anybody. Well, not anybody, but a better app than it was or is currently. I can make a better one for you. Blavity, reach out to me. I will gladly learn how to web dev app design in 6 weeks and get you a prototype within the next 6 months to then push for you guys to start implementing and integrating with your APIs. Like, there's no way that the app doesn't give us the ability to, 1, track to our calendars, 2, have ongoing direct conversations with people, 3, doesn't have a search feature for people who are in the app. This is the one thing that is crazy to me, is that I can't search people who are on the app. 4, there's no way that we're not using the app as the badge. Why isn't that our way in and out of events? Why do we still need paper when we have the app? Which also led me to believe, why aren't there more charging stations? There were we're at a tech convention, no place to charge your phones or equipment. There need to be charging stations at these places. Like, full on, straight up, 6-foot long cords where we can all charge our phones. 20 people can charge their phones at one time. Charging booths need to be a thing at tech conventions. But yeah, back to the app. The app is trash. It's dog water. It crashed multiple times. It was inaccurate. It wasn't updated appropriately. I don't ever recall giving it permission to send me notifications. It was able to bypass all of those things in the App Store. Feel like that's a flaw that it might need to have adjusted, Apple. Furthermore, there are too many people in the industry who've done their apps better. And this is something that bothered me about a lot of the booths. Last year, there were a lot more in-person conversations and a lot more collaboration to learn about me. Nobody took a vested interest in me unless they were interested in hiring me. For the most part, they made you scan a QR code and then they filter you to their recruiting center. So the amount of times people said to me booths said to me that they didn't know what jobs were available or they didn't have jobs available, but scan this QR code and it'll show you everything, shows a lack of preparedness on the business side. And also from a Blavity standpoint, are you vetting these people? Are you vetting these companies to make sure that they're actually not shortchanging the people who came here looking for employment? This was a convention that most people got hired for. So to have a situation where these companies aren't prepared to hire, it seems like you're not dealing in good faith, especially if you don't know that. And if you don't know that, why? And if you did know that, you didn't feel the need to share that. Definitely next year, there needs to be some type of chart or way of telling us about the people who are genuinely here to hire and who are here to look for interns, right? There needs to be a clear distinction, whether it's the sizing of their booth. I think Apple and Tesla got a lot of attention and maybe they didn't deserve it. And then I think another thing that was a major question is, where were some of the heavy hitters? eBay, Microsoft, Nike, AWS, Amazon. These were all companies that were here last year but weren't here this year. That's just a lingering question for me, right? Lingering questions.